In the year 480 BC, a boy left his mother's house and never really came back. Not because he died, because the person who walked back through that door 13 years later wasn't her son anymore. He belonged to someone else now. Not a family, not even really himself. He belonged to the state. And here's the thing, almost nobody tells you. The Spartans didn't build the deadliest soldiers in the ancient world by making boys stronger. They did it by making them stop being children, on purpose. Systematically, starting at age 7. So today, I put a real US Marine through pieces of that same machine. Not the sanitized documentary version you've seen 100 times. The actual uncomfortable stuff historians rarely put in the thumbnail. What happened surprised him. It might surprise you too. Let's get something out of the way first. If you've watched any of the 100 other videos on this topic, you already know. Spartans trained from childhood ate weird black broth and got thrown into pits if they were sickly babies. Fine, that's the surface. That's the Wikipedia summary. We're not doing that video.
Yeah, I did boot camp, 13 weeks. I thought I knew what broken down and built back up meant.
Dan's about to find out that the Marine Corps and ancient Sparta are running the exact same psychological playbook. Just one of them had 2.5 decades to perfect it. Here's the number that should stop you cold. Spartan training, the Agoge, didn't last 13 weeks. It lasted from age 7 to age 30, 23 years. Dan's entire transformation from civilian to Marine happened in less time than it takes a Spartan boy to just reach puberty inside the system.
Wait, 30? I thought they were considered warriors, like at 18.
Nope. A Spartan wasn't even allowed to marry, own property, or start a family until 30. For over 2 decades, his entire existence belonged to a training pipeline most people assume only lasted a few brutal years. So before Dan does a single Spartan drill, we need to talk about what the Agoge actually was, because it's darker, weirder, and far less warrior movie than you've been told. At age 7, Spartan boys were taken from their homes, not sent to school, taken permanently and placed into communal barracks with other boys their age. The state became their parent. And here's the part that rarely makes it into the highlight reel. This wasn't about combat skill, not at first. It was about severing the one thing that makes people hesitate in war, personal attachment. Break the bond to family, and you've removed the thing a soldier protects instead of the mission.
That's basically what they told us boot camp does. Break you down so there's no you left to argue with the orders.
Exactly. One Marine Corps veteran described it almost word for word, that the goal isn't teaching skills because most recruits are too stressed to actually absorb skills anyway. It's reprogramming, full stop. The Spartans just had a 2-decade head start on figuring that out. Now here's where it gets strange. Spartan boys were deliberately underfed. Not starved to death, underfed on purpose as policy. And to survive, they were expected to steal food. Say that again in your head. Stealing was part of the curriculum, but, and this is the twist nobody mentions, getting caught wasn't the crime. Stealing was fine. Getting caught was the failure. If a boy got caught stealing, he was flogged, not for the theft, but for lacking the stealth to pull it off cleanly.
So they were literally training kids to lie and steal. Well,
Cunning was a virtue in Sparta, right alongside courage. That's not something you'll find in a Marine Corps values pamphlet. Honor, courage, commitment doesn't leave a lot of room for also be sneaky. Dan's world runs on total honesty and instant obedience. Sparta's ran on obedience and deception working together. Then there's the detail that should honestly be its own documentary. The Krypteia. The best graduates of the Agoge, the top of the top, weren't sent to the front lines of a war. They were sent quietly into the countryside with almost nothing to control and terrorize the enslaved population Sparta depended on to survive. Modern historians have compared it to a secret police force. Not soldiers, enforcers.
okay, that's not the 300 version of Sparta.
It's not. And that's exactly the point. The most elite unit Sparta ever produced wasn't a fighting force. It was a state-sanctioned tool of internal fear. So we built Dan 3 pieces of the Agoge. Not the whole 23-year pipeline, nobody's got that kind of production budget, but 3 specific verifiable elements historians actually describe. Challenge 1, the Riverbank sleep. At age 12, Spartan boys lost the comfort of indoor sleeping. They were made to sleep outside, on reeds gathered from riverbanks, in the cold, with almost no bedding. Not once. As a standing condition of training.
I've done cold weather ops. This wasn't about the cold. It was that there was no end date. A Marine field exercise ends. This didn't have a finish line built into it. That's the part that would break you slowly, not the discomfort, the permanence of it.
That's the exact mechanism researchers point to in modern boot camp too. Small personal comforts get stripped early, deliberately, because attacking someone's sense of dignity works faster than attacking their body. Challenge 2. The bathing ban. At 12, Spartan boys were also restricted to a single cloak per year, and forbidden from using bathing oils, a normal grooming ritual in the ancient world. We didn't ban Dan from bathing for months, obviously, but we did take away every personal grooming item he had for 48 hours. No razor, no products, nothing that lets him feel like himself.
This one got in my head more than the cold night did. It's such a small thing, but by hour 30, I caught myself feeling less put together, less like a person who's in control of how he presents himself. That's a weird kind of vulnerable.
Small personal rituals, stripped away on purpose. Same tool the Marine Corps uses on day 1 when they shave a recruit's head. Different century. Identical logic. Challenge 3. The phalanx dance. Here's the one nobody sees coming. Alongside boxing, wrestling, and javelin throwing, Spartan boys trained formally in dancing. Not for ceremony, for war. Synchronized, rhythmic movement translated directly into how a phalanx held its line, shoulder to shoulder, moving as one organism instead of individuals.
Okay, I was ready to make fun of this. I'm not making fun of it anymore. The second we were out of rhythm with each other, gaps opened in the line. It's the same principle as fire team movement. They just discovered it with music instead of radios.
So, could a U.S. Marine survive Spartan training? Here's the honest, non-clickbait answer. Physically, almost certainly, for a while. Dan's fitness, discipline, and pain tolerance are real, and they're not nothing. But that's the wrong question, because the Agoge was never primarily a physical test. It was a 23-year psychological campaign to erase the version of a person that came before it, replacing family, comfort, personal identity, and even personal morality with something built entirely for the state.
13 weeks nearly rewired how I saw the world. I genuinely don't know who I'd be after 23 years of that, starting at 7 years old. That's not a training program anymore. That's a different species of human being.
And maybe that's the real, uncomfortable answer here. Sparta didn't produce better soldiers than the modern world does. It just started rebuilding people before they were old enough to remember who they were before. If a 7-year-old walked into that system today, we wouldn't call it training. We'd call it something else entirely. If this made you look at 300 a little differently, that's the point. Most Spartan content stops at the highlight reel. We wanted the parts historians argue about, not the parts that make a good poster. If you want the next profile, because we've got someone lined up for the Roman legions, and trust me, it's darker than this one. Hit subscribe and tell me in the comments, which ancient training system should Dan survive next?